Morning, guys. So we have made it to the last day of classes. We are here. Obviously, it doesn't look exactly what we thought it was going to look like, but that's okay. We've made it at least. So today we're going to talk about a little bit about Chapter 11. Now, Chapter 11 has three big sections, 11.2 and 11.3. We're not going to talk about it all. We are going to talk about 11.4, so that's what these IS 23 notes are about. And if you notice, there is a ton of typing in these because we are going to write down very little. This is basically just a guide through analysis of variance or ANOVA so that you've seen it before. I am not going to be testing this on the final exam. I do, again, really think it's worth watching. It's not a very long video. It just kind of pulls together how the methods we've already dealt with can be expanded. So it's worth taking a look at. But again, there's not homework from it. It's not going to be tested on the final exam. So that being said, let's talk a little bit about what will be tested on the final exam. There'll be a series, it's like 4 pages of questions that I have to give you as part of the general education requirement assessment. Statistics being in general education requirement class, we have to give these questions. And so they basically cover things from the entire semester. So going back to can you read a histogram? Can you find the mean, median, and mode by hand? Which, thinking back, I don't really think we talked about the mode very much because it's so simple to calculate. It's the most common value. But we definitely did the mean and median by hand. There are a series of questions, less asking you to calculate things like standard deviation and more asking you to understand what standard deviation is. Those unusual value boundaries that we talked about again and again and again, those are going to come up again. So my advice is to look back over old tests and review those problems. Make sure that you are comfortable with the things that were on those old tests. There'll be a couple probability questions as well. Let's see. So that was chapters 1 through 3 was kind of like the early descriptive statistics. 4 and 5 were about probability. And then we moved on to chapter 6 with normal calculations. There will definitely be normal calculations on the final exam, like for sure, a problem similar to, maybe even 2 problems similar to the types of questions on the chapter 6 test. And then there will also be a question or 2 from the chapter 7 and 8 test, where we were talking about hypothesis test and confidence intervals, either for just proportions, just one proportion, or just one mean. And then we'll get to the new stuff. We'll talk about this stuff from chapter 9 and 10. There will be something minimized from chapter 9. I taught you sections 9-3 and 9-4 with StatDisk instead of having you learn all of those calculations. After doing the 9-2 notes, I was like, I just don't think these calculations are contributing to your learning as much anymore. So that being said, today I'm going to go through a review. Pull that out real quick. A review on chapter 9 that covers not just how to do 9-3 and 9-4 using StatDisk, but also how to do a problem from 9-2, that difference of proportions with StatDisk. I think the calculations were just a little bit, they were so cumbersome that they're preventing you from really capturing that knowledge of being able to make a conclusion based on data that I wanted you to be able to do from section 9-2. So I'm going to go over that so that you can see that you can do that on the final exam if you would like as well. Let's see. That being said, from chapters 7 and 8, if you have a questions about just one proportion or one mean, you're welcome to complete the problem or the do section by hand, but you're also welcome to look at StatDisk and figure out how to use StatDisk to do this. I'm not going to walk you through that because there's the use technology section at the end of every section in your book that explains how to use StatDisk for all of those things. And if you want to figure that out, go for it. It's not very complicated, but I just don't think we need to spend class time going through that. Let's see. So then the last thing about the review for the final exam is that there will be some questions from chapter 10. It's going to be really similar to the notes in the homework. You're going to be asked to use StatDisk to find the correlation coefficient R. Use StatDist to find the regression line. Pull out the slope and y-intercept, plug them into the line, use context, make predictions, calculate a residual, right? The difference between the actual and the predicted, and interpret the slope and y-intercept in context. Yeah, okay, so I think that pretty much covers, what you can expect for the final exam. It is a long exam. I think it's like 2 hours and 50 minutes. We'll do it very similarly to the chapter 7 and 8 test. I'll make it available right at the start of your class time. So if you're in section 2, that'll be right at 12:30 on Monday, April 27th. If you're in section 3, that'll be right at 2 o'clock on Wednesday, April 29th. And then you'll have 2 hours and 50 minutes to submit that back on Schoology scanned as a PDF file. I know there were some problems with CamScanner last time, not emailing you like they were supposed to. If that happens, take pictures just with your regular camera phone, send them to me in an email so that I know that you actually had it done on time. And then whenever CamScanner finally gets its act together, you can go ahead and submit them on Schoology as a PDF so that I can actually grade them. I will not be grading pictures from your phone emailed to me just because I can't annotate those. They have to be submitted through Schoology to be graded. But pictures from your phone through email can make sure that you got them in on time. That being said, I'm sure some of you are already freaking out about time. I'm not intending this to take you a full 2 hours and 50 minutes. I'm intending it to take you about half of that time because I know a lot of you like to go over the problems again and again, and then you have that time to check it if you want or just turn it in. Let's see. I know a lot of you have been printing the test, which is totally fine. You can keep doing that, but this is going to be a long one because again, there'll be a lot of printed material that you're then asked to kind of look at or analyze or, true false or something like that. It'll be a lot less just straight up open-ended questions. So if you don't want to print it out, that's totally fine. But again, you'll need to, on your blank piece of paper, make sure you really carefully label the problem number and letter that references, and make sure you answer the question in full. Okay, so I think that is about it as far as talking about the review for the final exam. I'm sorry, there is one more thing. So I have this separated into 2 files. There's the Chapter 9 test review, which has 9-2, it says up here, 9-3 on this page, 9-4 on this page. And then there's also a Chapter 10 test review that I can't remember if I posted yet or not, but I will have it posted by the time I post this video. And it's just 1 page. So I'm going to include those in the notes for class today. There'll be, a pretty short video about this IS-23, and then I will go over the reviews. Notice these are also worth bonus points. Embarrassingly for me, maybe I didn't make it clear enough to you. Last time, the chapter 7 and 8 reviews, the test questions were very, 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 very similar to the test reviews. And I looked at how many people watched the videos and how to do those test reviews, and it was like 4 or 5 people per video. So then when those problems didn't go that well on the test, I was like, well, I tried to put stuff out there, but maybe you just weren't interested in watching it. I'm not sure. I know that there's a lot of materials. I know that you have limited time, but know that these reviews are worth it. And in studying for the final exam, I think it would probably be worth it to go back over those chapter 7 and 8 reviews if you haven't done them yet, to prepare. But also the chapter 9 and 10 reviews, definitely worth it. Worth bonus points if you fill them out with me. I'm gonna go over them and then submit them. So that is definitely a way that you can improve your grade. I know that several of you have been asking about how to improve that chapter 7 and 8 grade, and I think the only thing that I'm going to offer is to actually go back and do those reviews and submit them. And a couple of you have done those, and I haven't graded them yet, but I will. Go back and do that. That's a great way to review the learning. Okay, I think that's about it. In the next video, I'm going to start IS-23.